2.5 Men arrived when network sitcoms were looking for an edgy twist. Creator Chuck Lorre teamed up with Lee Aronson to craft a show about two brothers, one carefree, one uptight, and the young nephew caught in between. This comedic formula struck gold. Audiences quickly related to the odd couple dynamic of Charlie Harper's laid-back world colliding with Alan Harper's endless worries. Add in Jake, the nephew who's usually clueless but somehow the wisest of them all, and you had a recipe for a long-running success. Now, let's dive into 30 lesser-known stories from the set, stories that reveal the laughter, tension, and surprising moments that shaped 2.5 Men. 1. Sheen was TV's highest-paid star at over $1 million an episode. Did you know that at the height of 2.5 Men, Charlie Sheen was the highest-paid actor on television, raking in well over $1 million per episode? That jaw-dropping salary quickly became the talk of Hollywood and set the stage for some serious behind-the-scenes drama. For a while, it felt like Sheen was unstoppable. Producers, cast, and crew had never seen anything like it. Some say all that money fueled Sheen's confidence, while others believe it added pressure to an already hectic production. 2. Lorre's mix hit big. The idea for the show sprang from creator Chuck Lorre's knack for blending adult humor with real family tension. Along with co-creator Lee Aronson, he crafted a scenario of two mismatched brothers in one beach house, one carefree, one uptight, and the half-man in the middle was Alan's young son, Jake. At the time, many network sitcoms were either too squeaky clean or too raunchy to sustain broad appeal. 2.5 Men walked that tightrope, layering its jokes with just enough heart to keep viewers coming back. 3. Sheen wanted to play himself. Early on, Charlie Sheen actually wanted the main character to be named Charlie Sheen. He liked the idea of playing a heightened version of himself, complete with a penchant for partying and casual living. The producers felt that would be too on the nose, so they switched the last name to Harper, creating a slight fictional distance. Still, many fans saw Charlie Harper as Sheen's alter ego. Even Sheen's real-life love for bowling shirts and casual attire echoed in his character's wardrobe. 4. Cryer's timing balanced Sheen's wild energy. John Cryer, cast as neurotic brother Alan, initially worried about being overshadowed by Sheen's star power. But once filming started, Cryer's comedic timing stole the spotlight in numerous scenes. Critically, people praised him for grounding the show whenever Charlie's character soared into outrageous territory. Cryer's ability to play exasperated, broke, and yet oddly optimistic became a core piece of the show's DNA. 5. Angus T. Jones grew up and cracked up on camera. Angus T. Jones was only 9 when he got the role of Jake. Off camera, the production team treated him like a kid brother, teaching him about comedic timing while also providing on-set tutors for regular schoolwork. Chuck Lorre liked that Jones was a naturally laid-back kid, someone who could deliver a clueless or witty line without trying too hard. As time went on, Jones literally grew up on camera, which led to new storylines about teenage angst, pizza addiction, and eventual questions of whether Jake would ever graduate high school. 6. Lorre rewrote lines last minute. Chuck Lorre is known for making last-minute line changes. He'd show up seconds before filming with new joke cards. Charlie Sheen sometimes resisted these surprise tweaks, preferring to stick with what he'd rehearsed, while John Cryer actually thrived on them. Cryer said it kept the comedy spontaneous, like performing little live sketches every week. This freewheeling environment could be exhilarating, but also chaotic. On more than one occasion, entire jokes were tossed out minutes before the cameras rolled, replaced by something fresh Lorre had scribbled down on set. 7. Beach House was fake. Laughs were mostly real. The exterior shots of Charlie's Malibu beach house are real photos of an oceanside mansion, but the interior scenes, including that famous living room and kitchen, were all on a soundstage. Taped in front of a live studio audience, the show's laughs usually came from real reactions. Producers did admit they sometimes sweetened the laughter in post-production, but mostly what you hear is genuine. Fans lucky enough to attend a taping recall the jokes sounding even funnier in person, with the cast feeding off that energy. 8. Berta became a regular thanks to fan love. Conchata Ferrell, who played the no-nonsense housekeeper Berta, was originally intended as a brief guest star, popping in with sarcastic one-liners. But viewers adored her dry wit, so Chuck Lorre expanded her role. Off-camera, Ferrell was reportedly the warmest, friendliest soul, eager to share jokes and comfort the younger actors. That contrast between her real personality and her character's biting sarcasm became a running joke on set. 9. Judith. Harsh outside, soft inside. Marin Hinkle, portraying Alan's ex-wife Judith, once said her biggest challenge was making Judith both irritating and somewhat sympathetic. Writers kept giving her storylines where Judith's life fell apart, making her lash out at Alan. Hinkle balanced that with subtle facial expressions to show Judith's vulnerability underneath the tough exterior. Audiences might have booed her at times, but many still felt a little sorry for her when things went awry. 10. Charlie's piano, mostly movie magic. When you see Charlie Harper play piano, that isn't always Charlie Sheen's handiwork. Though he learned a few simple chords, a hidden keyboardist provided much of the real music. Sheen's job was to look convincing. He practiced enough that his fingering seemed credible on camera. Some fans wondered how Charlie Harper could churn out ad jingles so effortlessly. Behind the scenes, they had a musician on standby to compose those catchy little tunes. 11. The theme was cut shorter for punch. The theme song, Men, 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 originally lasted longer and had more variations of the men line. During test screenings, audiences found it quirky but repetitive. Producers cut it down, leaving the short, punchy version most fans remember. John Cryer, Charlie Sheen, and Angus T. Jones recorded it themselves, though many watchers assumed it was professional singers because of how oddly addictive it was. 12. Charlie's sports talk came from Sheen. Chuck Lorre sometimes let Sheen weave in references to his real interests, like sports. In a few episodes, you'll catch Charlie Harper referencing baseball teams or specific players that Sheen followed in real life. Lorre enjoyed those touches, thinking it made Charlie Harper feel more grounded. Meanwhile, Sheen got to show off his passion for America's pastime, winning a few bets with cast members over big games. 13. Cryer's quirks made Alan hilariously uptight. John Cryer's comedic style owes a lot to his early-stage career and comedic film roles, like Pretty in Pink. He approached Alan as a man who's been beaten down by life but refuses to admit defeat. Cryer used tiny mannerisms, like tucking in his shirts or adjusting his glasses, to highlight Alan's uptight nature. Lorre trusted Cryer enough to let him improvise occasionally, which led to some of Alan's funniest meltdowns about money or heartbreak. 14. Jake's pranks. As Angus T. Jones grew up, the writers adapted the show's jokes to fit a teenage Jake. This meant heavier topics like partying or girls. Jones later said he felt uneasy about some of the show's sexual humor, especially as he reached his mid-teens. He tried to express that he was older than the little kid fans remembered, but also not comfortable delivering certain lines. It was a tricky balance, and the tension increased once the show's content got racier in later seasons. 15. Cast rehearsals sometimes rewrote the script. The cast had a fun tradition, filming a just for laughs version of certain scenes before taping the official one. They'd insert jokes too wild for TV or give lines to different characters. Once in a while, Chuck Lorre liked these chaotic rehearsals so much that he'd rewrite the scene to capture that spontaneous humor. Actors described it as nerve-wracking but exhilarating, like a small improv show in front of the entire crew. 16. Sheen pranked Cryer with rubber chickens. One infamous prank involved Sheen secretly paying a production assistant to plant odd objects in John Cryer's dressing room, rubber chickens one day, inflatable dinosaurs the next. Cryer played along at first, but eventually plotted revenge. He convinced Conchata Ferrell to storm onto Sheen's side of the set, angrily waving a rubber chicken and demanding an explanation. Sheen, caught off guard, burst into laughter, and the entire crew joined in. 17. Taylor nailed Evelyn's classy cruelty. Holland Taylor, who played the elegant yet self-centered Evelyn Harper, brought a certain theater gravitas to the set. She'd often arrive early, playing classical music in her dressing room. Taylor once joked that performing Evelyn's wicked zingers felt like tapping into my inner drama queen. Despite Evelyn's brash personality, Taylor's scenes were usually a highlight, especially whenever Evelyn tormented Alan or brushed off Charlie's complaints. 18. Live audience made tapings feel electric. 2.5 Men had a live audience that got so enthusiastic it felt like a rock concert at times. Tickets to tapings were high in demand. People flew in from around the country, hoping to see Charlie Sheen and John Cryer banter in person. The crowd occasionally gasped or shouted if a joke was particularly edgy. Producers loved feeding off this energy, adjusting comedic timing to match the wave of laughter rolling across the studio. 19. Lorre's vanity cards hid cryptic messages. Chuck Lorre's vanity cards at the end of each episode became a quiet phenomenon. He posted short messages, sometimes funny, sometimes philosophical, that flashed on screen too fast to read in real time. Fans paused their DVRs to decode them. Once in a while, these cards hinted at behind-the-scenes friction or made cryptic references to what might happen with Sheen's contract. It was an unusual direct link between the show's creator and its fans. 20. Sheen's troubles grew. Cryer stayed steady. As the seasons rolled on, Sheen's personal struggles began to affect the show. Rumors of late arrivals and tension with producers seeped out. Crew members occasionally fretted about whether Sheen would appear ready to film. Still, the show continued to churn out episodes, buoyed by a dedicated staff. John Cryer, in many ways, became the calm center of the storm, known for his professionalism and never-miss-a-line work ethic. 21. Sheen fired, Kutcher brought in. In 2011, the conflict between Sheen and Chuck Lorre exploded. Sheen gave public interviews blasting Lorre, leading to Sheen's eventual firing. It was a watershed moment. Losing the central star of a top-rated sitcom isn't something networks handle lightly. Many wondered if that spelled doom for 2.5 Men, but CBS decided to push forward, bringing Ashton Kutcher into the fold as Walden Schmidt. The tone shifted drastically, though viewers stayed curious enough to keep ratings decent. 22nd Kutcher's Walden split fan opinion. Ashton Kutcher's Walden Schmidt was introduced as a sweet, clumsy billionaire recovering from heartbreak. Fans had mixed reactions. Some missed Charlie Harper's edgy jokes. Others liked the warmer, less cynical vibe Kutcher brought. For John Cryer, it was like starting a brand-new show, but in the same living room. Their comedic chemistry emerged in a different way, Walden's naive positivity balancing Alan's neurotic gloom. 23rd, Angus T. Jones slammed the show, then left. Angus T. Jones stirred controversy in 2012 when he publicly called the show filth and urged people not to watch it, citing personal convictions. This rocked the fandom and cast members alike, as Jones had grown up on set and was considered family. He later apologized for the harshness of his words, but didn't fully retract his sentiments. In time, he stepped away from regular appearances, leaving fans to wonder how the storyline could maintain the half-man concept. 24. Jenny stepped in as the new half-man. The writers tried to replace that missing half-man dynamic by introducing Amber Tamblyn as Jenny, Charlie's newly discovered daughter. She captured some of Charlie Harper's sarcasm and flair, injecting the show with a fresh comedic perspective. It didn't quite recapture the old magic, but it added another layer of family chaos. The final seasons juggled multiple cast shifts, which made the show feel like it was constantly reinventing itself. 25. Audience laughs shaped the final script. Whenever they tested new jokes, they relied heavily on the live audience's immediate laughter or silence. Chuck Lorre once mentioned that the instant feedback was better than any focus group. If a line bombed, they'd halt filming, rewrite on the spot, and retake the scene. This real-time process gave Two and a Half Men its sharp comedic pacing, though it could be stressful for the cast. Actors joked that no matter how tired they were, if the audience roared, that adrenaline wave carried them through. 26. Beneath the jokes was a fragile family. Despite leaning heavily on rude jokes and sexual innuendos, the show occasionally tackled deeper emotions. Alan's insecurity as a divorced dad, Charlie's unresolved issues with relationships, or Jake's confusion about growing up without consistent guidance. Fans appreciated those moments of sincerity. They felt that beneath the bawdy humor lay a fragile family trying to stay afloat, each with their own scars and dreams. 27. Opening theme changed with the cast. The opening credits changed each time the cast shifted. After Sheen's firing, you could hear a new rendition of Men, 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 featuring Kutcher and the remaining cast. Observant fans noted slight differences in pitch or timing. Lorre never made a big deal about it, but it reminded people that the show was in flux. By the final season, the credits bore little resemblance to the original trio, symbolizing how much had changed since 2003. 28. The series finale lit up conversation boards. Spoiler alert, they teased Charlie Harper's return, only to show a body double with a piano dropped on his head. Then Chuck Lorre appeared, also crushed by a piano, and the screen flashed, "Winning!" referencing Sheen's famous catchphrase. Some viewers found it hilarious. Others deemed it a petty jab at Sheen. Regardless, it cemented Two and a Half Men as a sitcom, unafraid to break the fourth wall and poke fun at its own controversies. 29. Finale trolled Sheen with a falling piano gag. Erector James Widows, who oversaw many episodes, credited the show's success to that delicate dance between raunchy laughs and real character bonding. He felt that no matter how outrageous the jokes got, viewers still rooted for the Harper family to stick together. It was like watching a dysfunctional clan, plus various girlfriends, ex-wives, and random house guests, scramble through life. And that messiness felt genuine, even when the humor soared into outlandish territory. 30. Cryer won Emmys. The show became a syndication giant. Over 12 seasons, Two and a Half Men garnered more than 40 Emmy nominations. John Cryer won 2 Emmys for his portrayal of Alan, an underdog who basically lived off his brother's generosity but tried to keep some dignity. The show became a syndication powerhouse, airing around the globe in constant reruns. Charlie Sheen, despite his turbulent exit, once admitted that his early years on the show were among his happiest times in Hollywood, moments where the jokes felt fresh and the cast felt like a family. Looking back, the story of Two and a Half Men is a roller coaster of comedic highs and off-screen drama. Yet, for all the public feuds and cast changes, the series endured because it understood something simple. Sometimes we just want to laugh at life's absurdities while rooting for a weird little family to muddle through. Even if that family is led by a hedonistic jingle writer, his perpetually broke brother, and a nephew who says the darndest things. Underneath the crude jokes, there's a warmth that resonated with millions. After all, many of us have known that one relative who refuses to grow up, or the sibling who can't catch a break. 2.5 Men turned those relatable themes into a record-breaking sitcom that, like it or not, became a cultural touchstone.